Follow Alice. Speak English properly, effectively, and smartly.
Hi, this is Alice. Before we start to give a speech, we'd better figure out what kind of speech we should choose for our given situation. There are many three types of speeches: informative speeches, persuasive speeches, and speeches on special occasions. First, informative speech. Speaking to inform occurs in a wide range of everyday situations. A business manager explaining next year's budget. An architect is reviewing plans for a new building. A tour guide is showing historical sites. A scientist is presenting a paper at a conference. And me, Alice, I'm speaking in front of you. There are endless situations in which people need to inform others. In a word, informative speeches provide information for the audience. It can be how to do something, what something is, how it works, or how it is used. In other words, if your speech increases awareness by introducing the latest information about a topic, a body of related facts, deepens your listener's knowledge of a complicated term, concept, or process, or aids in your listener's mastery of a skill, it is informative. To make a good informative speech, ask yourself, is the information communicated accurately? Is the information communicated clearly and concisely? Is the information made meaningful and interesting to the audience? Now, let's watch a video clip in TED.
I'm going to tell you about some work that my team and I are doing in Australia at the University of Queensland on a technology designed to tackle those four problems. And that technology is called the nanopatch. Now, this is a specimen of the nanopatch. To the naked eye, it just looks like a square, smaller than a postage stamp. But under a microscope, what you see is thousands of tiny projections that are invisible to the human eye. And there's about 4,000 projections on this particular square compared to the needle. And I've designed those projections to serve a key role, which is to work with the skin's immune system. And so that's a very important function tied in with the nanopatch. Now, we make the nanopatch with a technique called deep reactive ion etching. And this particular technique is one that's been borrowed from the semiconductor industry and therefore is low cost and can be rolled out in large numbers. Now, we dry coat vaccines to the projections of the nanopatch and apply it to the skin. Now, the simplest form of application is using our finger, but our finger has some limitations. So we've devised an applicator. And it's a very simple device. You could call it a sophisticated finger. It's a spring-operated device. What we do is when we apply the nanopatch to the skin, as so, immediately a few things happen. So firstly, the projections on the nanopatch breach through the tough outer layer, and the vaccine is very quickly released, within less than a minute, in fact. Then we can take the nanopatch off and discard it. And indeed, we can make a reuse of the applicator itself. So that gives you an idea of the nanopatch, and immediately you can see some key advantages. We've talked about it being needle-free. These are projections that you can't even see. And of course, we get around the needle phobia issue as well.
Next, let's do a practice. Choose a subject that's not so familiar to others and explain it. For example, Winnie is going to share something about the mechanism of Alzheimer's disease. Listen to her speech carefully and pay attention to how she makes it clear and vivid. After this class, search for the information about your subject. Use simple and clear language. You can also use some rhetorical devices to help clarify. Remember, Your audience know little about your topic, so don't use too technical terms.
I forgot to turn off the tap. I guess most of us may have experienced such kind of memory lapses, and most of the times we take it for granted. But have you ever thought that this might be an early sign of Alzheimer's disease? Research shows that AD is caused by a special chemical in our body. From a certain age, it starts to form sticky aggregates in our bodies that interfere with our neuron functions. Before its accumulation reaches a tipping point, it can be quietly accumulated for 15 to 20 years. So what will happen after this tipping point? Just think about your brain as a forest. Think of this special chemical as a lit match. Once at the tipping point, the match sets fire to the forest. Once the forest is ablaze, it burns out everything we have. That's when a person's language ability starts to recess drastically, starts to mumble fumbled sentences, act strangely, and starts to forget everything around, even the most loved ones.
Next, persuasive speech. Persuasion is happening every minute, everywhere in our life. Every day, you are bombarded with persuasive messages. Your girlfriend is encouraging you to spend more time with her. TV commercials are promoting clothes and cosmetics. You are asking your professor to extend the deadline of a paper. Your new classmate is recommending you a new movie. Persuasion is the process of creating, reinforcing, or changing people's beliefs or actions. When you persuade, you are selling an idea, like in this speech.
A future where the 17 million deaths per year that we currently have due to infectious disease is a historical footnote. And it's a historical footnote that's been achieved by radically improved vaccines. Now, standing here today in front of you, at the birthplace of the needle and syringe, a device that's 160 years old, I'm presenting to you an alternative approach that could really help make that happen, and it's a nanopatch with its attributes of being needle-free, pain-free, the ability for removing the cold chain and improving the immunogenicity. Thank you.
Persuasive and informative speeches are not completely separated. Most of the times, they're combined in one speech. Because persuasive speakers must communicate information clearly and concisely, and informative skills would be needed. For example, Winnie is going to talk about why people should care more about AD. She'll use the information in practice 1 and add persuasive skills, like this.
Unfortunately, my grandma is just one of these patients. She's not alone. Every year, over 300 million people are diagnosed with AD in China. At first, it was just drip and taps or keys in the fridge. The early recession was so slow and trivial that we just regarded it as normal aging. But when the match has already set fire to the forest, it is too late. Now, my grandma is already a totally different person. She cannot talk, cannot laugh, and even cannot recognize who I am. For now, AD is incurable, but can be prevented. Therefore, we have to blow out the match before the forest catches fire. Act now. Give them more care. Seek for medical help in time. Don't take it for granted until the fire burns out everything in our past lives that we are familiar with, and there's nothing left but a cold, isolated island.
The third type is speaking on special occasions. You may also speak to give a toast on weddings, anniversaries, graduations, award ceremonies, TV shows. There are special occasions for speech making. Generally speaking, it contains 3 types. Courtesy speeches, including introduction, presentation, acceptance, and after-dinner speeches, like in this Oscar Award acceptance speech by Leonardo DiCaprio. after hard work of so many years and constantly changing his appearances. Finally, he got the award. So let's see what he won: ceremonial speeches, including commencement addresses, commemorative speeches, and eulogies. Let's watch this video clip.
President Faust, members of the Harvard Corporation and the Board of Overseers, members of the faculty, proud parents, and above all, graduates. The first thing I would like to say is thank you. Not only has Harvard given me an extraordinary honor, but the weeks of fear and nausea I have endured at the thought of giving this commencement address have made me lose weight. A win-win situation. Now all I have to do is take deep breaths, squint at the red banners, and convince myself that I am at the world's largest Gryffindor reunion.
Next is contest speeches, including prepared speeches, impromptu speeches, and a Q&A. In this course, you're going to see lots of these videos, and maybe someday in the future, you can also stand on the stage in speaking contests and give your own speech. Now, you have known something about the types of public speaking, but what is public speaking? What does it have to do with our life? Do we speak in public every day? Think about it, and see you in next class.
In this class, you should remember these important points.